Peace of Mind podcast merges business and psychology.
These topics are designed to inspire solutions for entrepreneurs to provide insights that improve their overall mental health and business
Welcome
success.
to the Peace of Mind podcast. On today's episode, we are going to have so much fun with Miss Ayesha Bernardo. She is a bank vice president for one of the top financial institutions across America. She is a mom of a 4-year-old daughter, as well as a former business owner. And one of the things she is most proud of is she is a Howard alumni.
Yes.
And I have to give her a shout out because that's where our youngest son is studying. So he is in his 3rd year at Howard. So we are just so excited to have you on the podcast today. We are going to have so much fun. You have so much experience and just a heart of gold.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, definitely.
So it's really good to have you here today. I'm excited.
So excited.
I remember when we were talking the first time, our conversation took like 3-4 hours and it went like 20 minutes. It was crazy.
I told you we were only going to be there for 45.
Right?
So sorry for the extra 2 hours.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, that's one of the things that happens when you just connect on so many levels.
Absolutely. And when you're passionate about the same things.
It's so natural.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really glad to have you here. So just wanted to, considering the fact that you have control over so many resources and you have so much knowledge working with people with small to medium size and even large businesses, what kind of advice could you give that entrepreneur who's looking to start a business, who's looking to find and secure some different resources, how to go about that?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. I think one of the main things that people normally do is they think about having a mentorship for the actual product, the actual service, the actual business that they're going to be engaging in, but they don't think about having a mentorship for the money. And let's be real. And it doesn't matter how great you are or how great your product is. If you cannot cash flow, if you cannot sustain that business, nobody is going to know how great it is. So I would say make sure that you have a financial advisor, whether that be when you're first getting started, your local bank, whatever bank you choose, creating that personal relationship that's going to help your business to grow right from the beginning so that you can start saving if you have not already. I definitely recommend that you do save before you jump out and start a business, because there's so many incidentals. No matter how low you keep your overhead, there's things that are going to come up, and you don't want to start making decisions based off of the cash flow and what you need to do rather than what's going to be best for your business. So that's definitely going to be the part that you need to focus on. And so as much as you can save, did I say that 5 times already? Okay. Save.
Absolutely.
Save.
Exactly.
Then start your business.
Yes.
That's such a good point, because when you think about just that average person that's thinking about starting their business, they don't necessarily think long term about the idea might be fantastic, but how much cash flow do you have to maintain that idea? Because 4 out of 5 businesses, they say, go out of business in the first 5 years.
Absolutely.
And that those that even get through that first 5 years, 4 out of 5 of them go out of business the next 5 years. So you're talking 90% failure rate. So being cash flow is such an important factor. It's such a good point that you bring up. So.
Yeah, and so the milestones in business are like getting to that first 100,000, getting to that, the next point would be 500,000, and then, but growing from 500,000 to $1 million is almost, I don't want to say impossible, but it's very, very difficult. And people don't realize that. It's not done from cash. It is done from credit. It is done from credit. So make sure after you're saving, your credit is intact, because that's what's going to help your business to really grow and get to the next level. And then after the $1 million, it's actually very difficult to go from $1 million to $5 million. A lot of people don't realize. I remember in the 90s, in the early 2000s, if you said you had $1 million business, that meant something. Now, it actually means that the owner probably brings home about $60,000 a year.
Right.
You did nothing but buy yourself a job.
Yeah. And I think that that's important for us to realize. So I'm glad that you gave us those markers of, moving first, thinking about savings, and then making sure that you're keeping your business credit good as well. And I know that when you first start out as an entrepreneur in the very beginning, we have a lot of people who are listeners who are new entrepreneurs, they're solopreneurs, maybe they're taking over a family business. But there are decisions that people have to make, and sometimes some of those decisions can be considered a setback, or sometimes they can be embarrassing, like having to move home with parents. Can you share with us just a little bit of information about how some of those decisions can be made without the embarrassing stigma associated with it?
If your parents will let you live at home, live at home as long as possible, because the more that you focus on your business, have those funds to inject into your business as needed, that's going to be the biggest thing. When we talk about having a low overhead. So overhead primarily is rent, office space,
Yes.
utilities, telephones, computers, internet. As much of that as you can erase and just focus on the bare necessities, that's what's going to make all the difference for you. So if you're a person that has a very supportive family and you can live at home, do not look at that as a setback. You are blessed, because there's so many people that don't have that type of support system, and they would love to. If you're a person that doesn't have it, live in a studio, rent a room, live in a basement. As long as it's livable and you're safe, do it, because nobody has the heart that you have to be an entrepreneur. It is feast to famine in the beginning. So people find security in that check once a week, every other week. But guess what? That company can get rid of you at any time. It's really not a security, but people see it that way. So if you have the heart, the capability, the skill set, the creativity to be an entrepreneur, that's what you be proud of. That's what you live in.
Yes.
As far as what it looks like, where you live and that sort of thing, if anybody is judging you for living with your parents, then they probably have a job and they shouldn't be judging you. So,
Yes, exactly.
they can make different decisions because they've made different life choices. But your business is what you need to be focused on. And so when you can declutter your mind and not have to worry about how you're going to pay that rent, how you're going to get your next meal, you can focus more on your business and make better decisions.
I love that. Declutter your mind.
Declutter your mind.
In terms of being able to, on the mental health side,
Yes.
be able to be there for your business and your clients and the people that you've decided to serve, and being able to be there fully present with them and making those decisions that actually, instead of being seen as a setback, it's actually a setup for success.
It is a setup. And I think it's very important what you just said, serve. You're not only serving people, you have to serve yourself first. If you are not mentally, spiritually well, you can't teach anybody else to be that. You can't give anybody else what you're really supposed to bring forth unless you're there yourself. And the way that you do that is to declutter your mind and have as much off your plate that doesn't serve your business or serve your purpose.
Right.
Have that off as much as possible.
Yes.
And so those other things that I would say is have healthy vices. When you've had a really bad day or you've had an actual setback, you lost the client that you were really going over, your product was not received in the way that you thought it would be, investors didn't invest the amount that you thought they were going to invest. Go swimming, go for a run, go walking. You don't know how to do these things, teach yourself. You have to have that anxiety that builds up be able to come out in a creative way. I'm a writer, so I write. And you have to remember to do those things. Do them for yourself before you teach anybody else to do them, because you're of no service if you're not serving yourself first.
And that's interesting that you figured out within yourself something that will be a trigger for you, which is anxiety,
Yes.
and how to be able to overcome that to still be able to be successful within your endeavors that you're doing. So writing for you is one of them. You mentioned exercise, which can also be able to ease anxiety and be able to put you in the right mindset to be able to serve, which is the key. So
Yeah.
I love that, but I'm really sticking with declutter your mind. I love that.
Absolutely.
That's so true. And I think about just what you talked about in terms of living at home, because so many times people are so preoccupied with looking good
Yes.
instead of being good and being
Yes.
well and being financially healthy.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because that's very important. Like, not just living at home. For me, I'm in finance. It's very difficult to talk to people about a $300,000 deal, $1 million deal, and you pull up in a Camry. Everybody is looking at you like, well, if you could do it for me, why aren't you doing it for yourself? So the first Benz that I bought, for that purpose, to look the part for my clients so that they would, because a lot of people do put thought into what you're driving, how you look, how you're wearing in order to really take you seriously. The first Benz I bought, I paid $4,000 for
And the
it.
Camrys are good cars
Exactly.
as well.
So what I did was actually sell the Camry for $3,000, and then I put an extra $1,000 and got the Benz used. And the great thing about a Benz is people look at it, they have no idea what year it is. It's a Benz. They don't care, honestly. But it looked the part, but it still was fiscally responsible because I'm a banker. So
Yes.
I'm thinking about
Exactly.
how much money I'm actually putting into it. And so I made sure that I looked the part so I can at least not have that as a stigma against me. But I wasn't stupid and didn't get a high car note. And I don't want to say stupid, but
You were
Uninformed.
mindful.
I was mindful about not having, because that was, you have to start building that wealth in a very responsible way. So instead of getting the brand new Louis Vuittons, rent them if you need to. If you're in the fashion industry and you want that fashion account, so you have to look the part, rent. OfferUp is amazing. You can get anything on there. They sell children on there, which is scary, but
That is.
I've seen it. I've seen an ad.
Oh,
for
no.
Yeah.
You know I'm an educational psychologist, so that is very disturbing.
It was super disturbing,
Wow,
but
okay.
that tells you that you can get anything on there. So, and it's going to be half or lower than what you really need to purchase. I've literally purchased cars from OfferUp. So look the part, but don't spend the money for it. Put your money in your business.
I definitely think that on another podcast, we will have to have a conversation about how do you get a Benz for $4,000.
Oh,
I think that's a good idea.
I would love to teach that.
Yes, for another
Cars are kind of my
podcast.
passion, so
We'll definitely have you back for that one, that's for sure.
it was no car note, let me tell you.
So let's talk a little bit about just that entrepreneurial journey and just the journey of a person just trying to better themselves, right? What was that like for you? Because oftentimes moving up the corporate ladder, and there's a lot that's attached to who you are, you know,
Yes,
African American,
yes.
female, in a corporate setting.
Yes.
How did you manage the frustration of navigating that?
So I think the wonderful thing about me, my name is Ayesha Bernardo. It means life like the river Nile, brave as a bear. My father was methodical about raising me, and I remember the most potent thing that I can get from my family was, you can do anything. I believed it solely, completely. Everything in me believed that. So I would have these crazy ideas and just be like, well, I can do anything. So I'm going to do that.
I like that. Brave.
Yes, yes. So graduating from Howard University, I had a network that you would not believe, from the East Coast to the West to the Midwest to the South. Anywhere that I landed, I knew somebody there from Howard, or I knew somebody who knew somebody from Howard. And, I used that. My dad actually worked for United, so I used to be able to fly for $20
What?
anywhere.
What?
So
That's nice.
when I graduated Howard University, I started my first company in public relations, and that's what I did. I had contacts. I went to high school in Miami.
Okay.
I was born in New Jersey, so I had contacts in New York. I had contacts in Miami. So getting started, I just utilized that, and I used what I have. I didn't pay full top dollar for anything at all. And I worked through my network, and then I did public relations for 10 years. I worked
Okay.
with nonprofits, entertainers, and I built that company, and I saw how easily you could go from feast to famine. and public relations was starting to take a decline. I loved the more branding, marketing, Nike, just do it. That was the side
You're
of
definitely a
public
just do it
relations.
person.
Yes,
That's for sure.
that was the side of public relations that I loved, but it was moving more so towards, this was the a rise of social media time when my business went, and I just kind of knew that I wasn't passionate about that side. I wasn't knocking it, but it wasn't for me.
Right.
So I thought about, what did I do before then that I liked, and that was banking. And so I went back. I went from being a business owner. I had worked as director of communications director for a nonprofit, and went all the way back down to the beginning in banking, and actually was a part-time teller and part-time seller. So you did half platform work and half teller work. And I guess people would probably see that as a decline, but I knew that the main part of my business that I could have grown more was the finance. And so what better way to get a teaching for free,
Right.
and actually make the company pay me, but go into banking. So that's what I did. I started from the bottom, went back to like a $30,000 job after being a business owner and communications director. And that background really helps me. So you talk about being a Black female and being in corporate America. You know, I really never allowed myself to think about that. I always had the thought, if white people, Indian, Asian people can do it, what's the difference between me and them?
I love
That's
it.
so
They're
important.
a human being. They bleed like I do. They may have better resources. That person may have more context than me. But what's the worst that can happen? I can try, and if it doesn't work out for me, then I'll go on and I'll figure out something else. But because I had that mindset of, they're not better than me. I am I am intricately me. So there's nobody else that has those specific words that I have. There's nobody else that has that specific thought process that I have. There's other bankers, there's other tellers. I remember being on a call, and I was asking what was the goal for the position that was higher than mine. And the regional was on the call, and he said, Ayesha, you don't have to worry about that. That's not your position. And I said, that's going to be my position. So I want to know now.
Yes.
Because I'm going to start working as though I'm already in that position. And he said, wow, okay, well, this is what you need to know. And that's what I did.
You stepped into what you knew your destiny
I
was.
was already doing the next position's work.
That's so important, because a lot of times, you know, the reason why I brought that up is because sometimes people impose those views upon you, and the fact that you had the esteem, and you know, just hearing about you talk about your father, and every single time he spoke your name, it just instilled that idea and that concept of being self-assured, self-confidence, and whatever you brought to the table didn't matter.
Sometimes I didn't feel the self-confidence, but I'm good at faking it till I make it.
That's right. But you had enough esteem to realize that you could push through it, right? So that's the key.
Yes, because deep down inside, the key word that you had was, I'm intricately me.
Yes.
And you knew that you carried something very special. And like my husband was saying, it came from part of your childhood of that being, you know, put into you, and you were able to fulfill that because it was poured into you at such a young age.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I actually went back into banking, the position that I'm in now, almost 9 years later, was the position that I was going for then.
Oh, wow.
What?
And they were like, no, you're not ready for that. And I was like, I'm ready for anything. Tell me.
Yes, I can conquer this.
Yes,
Right.
but actually they were right. I wasn't ready. But I got ready. And, you know, above and beyond anything, I'm spiritual. And I know that God is an order God. And so he's going to put things in order. He's going to put you in places that you need to be. He's going to let you to have the experiences that you need to have in order for you to be where you're going to be. You're going to make decisions today that are going to affect you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You're going to be like, oh yeah, remember when I met that guy Jordan? And I was like, wow, he's great. And 20 years later, you could be working with that person, and you're thinking that it was just a happenstance meeting,
Yes.
and it's part of your destiny. You
Yeah.
have no idea what it is. Everybody that you meet, they're in your life for a reason for that time.
Yeah, talk about that, because like in your business, you're dealing with numbers,
Oh my God,
you're dealing
yeah.
with facts and figures, but
Yeah.
it's really about the relationship. So talk to that new business owner, that person that's really trying to get to the next level, about the value of relationships.
Let me tell you, just talking about banking and my journey and climbing the corporate ladder, that does not get done by yourself. It is all about seeing the person that is ahead of you, that is willing to tell you how they got there, willing to give you any kind of guidance of what you should be focusing on, how the words that you need to use, the way that you need to bring it across. That relationship is everything. And I think that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a thick skin. You
Yes.
have to be able to allow somebody to say, you're great at this, you are horrible at that.
And take it and receive
Take it,
Yes.
receive it,
Yes.
and change it.
Keyword
Don't
change.
keep that information in just the back of your mind and do nothing with it. That person just blessed you
Yes.
immeasurably. They told you, you need to tell you every single day how great you are. But when you have those truth tellers in your life that will say, yes, you are awesome, but you need to work on this right here.
Yes.
That's where you really need to grow and make those changes. But that all comes from relationships. The more that you and I get to know each other, work with each other, then I trust you more. I can allow you to pour into my life. You have that relationship with me. You want to pour into my life because
Right.
you want to see me succeed. And guess what? We're all in this together. From, anybody that you're working with, you think that this person may be just your assistant or this person may be just the janitor. Guess what? If that janitor doesn't clean up, then you're focused on that trash on the floor and
That's
not
right.
your creative space.
100%. Yes.
Every little bit of it matters. And that janitor might have a cousin who's a CEO.
Right.
That janitor might have a cousin who is in New York doing fashion, whatever it is. You never know.
Right.
Don't discount anybody in your life.
Yes. I love, so many words are coming out, so many themes.
I'm the writer.
The truth teller.
I'm the banker, but by night I'm a writer.
Yes,
That's
yes.
good.
And, like you said, you're a banker, so you deal a lot with numbers, but you are so much more than numbers.
Yes.
So really, that was such an amazing question, hon,
Yeah.
because I think that building relationships are so important. And
Yes.
we touched a little bit on this earlier about just you being a female and having a daughter. So you're a mom of a princess, soon to be queen.
I'm such a mom.
And so what advice would you give to other young women, to your younger self,
Oh my God.
to just help the women to be able to have that courageous spirit that you have, that bold spirit, but you still also have such a level of girliness and femininity to you?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Two main things. Number one, that mind frame of you are uniquely you. No matter what you do, nobody does it the way you do it. Say it, feel it, whatever it is. And this really came to pass for me very recently. I just want to give an example of that. I had a client who needed $150,000 because they wanted to take their business to the next level, and they had an amazing opportunity, and they needed equipment in order to be able to
Okay.
do that. And they had great credit, but their taxes did not look great. And so certain banks are very conservative in their lending, and everybody on my credit team was like, this deal is never going to go through. This is never going to happen. And these are people that have been in the business. They underwrite. They've been there for 15, 20 years longer than me. Everybody, it was like 10 people that we were looking this over, and they were all telling me this couldn't be done. And I was like, I don't care what they say. I'm going to figure this out.
Yes.
I want this company to move to the next level. I want to see them go and get this done. So I got them $35,000 from our financial institution when everybody told me it couldn't be done. And then I got them $90,000 from another financial institution. And that was specifically because it wasn't a conflict of interest because we wouldn't do it anyway. But I have contacts at other financial institutions because I'm going to do what's right for my client regardless. But I tell that story because nobody else would have thought of that but me. I liked the owner. I liked what they were doing. I felt a great rapport with them. And I could see it happening mentally that nobody else saw. So if I was not in that position, that would not have gotten done. Maybe it would have gotten done. I mean, I do believe in God and I do believe he'll bring whatever needs to come to pass. But it might have taken them 2 years longer. They might have missed the opportunity. Who knows? But I said to myself, this can be done. This will be done. I don't care what anybody says. And then I said, I'm not hurting anybody by taking the chance. And that's what's uniquely you. You have to think about inflicting you into the situation because that's what you're there for. So that's the first thing I would say.
So having a female at the table is important. That's what I heard you just say. That's what I heard.
You know,
a female who's brave, who is not afraid to stand up for what is right.
Absolutely.
And you were guided by your heart and your intuition because women carry such an intuition about us. So you just knew, and you also were able to pick up on that they were intricately unique in their own way, and you knew that what they had needed to be offered.
And it was a woman-owned business. That wasn't a deciding factor for me, but that was a nice plus.
But
yes, definitely. And there's a lot of times that, especially when you're talking about credit and you're talking about underwriting and you're talking about banking, there's a lot of times that I'm in a room full of men. There's a lot of times that my clients are male-owned businesses that primarily, I deal with manufacturers. That's largely a male-dominated industry. I deal with trucking companies. That's largely a male-dominated industry. I go into meetings with partners, and they're all males, and literally everybody's looking to me. Everybody is saying, she's going to give us direction. Yes, I am. I'm going to direct my partners. I'm going to direct my clients. I'm going to bring everybody together, but I'm the heart of it. And that's what a female really brings. Your heart is invaluable. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you're too emotional, you're too invested, you're over the top. You're supposed to be. You are supposed to be.
That's how we were uniquely made.
The point of that is that's what the males can't bring to the table. Your heart. That is what you are supposed to do. Do it, and do it well.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ayesha. This has been such a phenomenal time being with you. Your experiences in banking, your experiences as a business owner yourself, an experience as mom. We could have been here forever.
I'm sitting here thinking about all the things I wanted to say.
So we are definitely going to have you on another podcast because I want to know how to get that Benz for $4,000.
Absolutely.
So
I'll tell you how to do it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So good to have you.
Thank you for having me.